Hello, sports fans. It's Tuesday, September 10th, 2024. Welcome to Cleats by Dre. I'm Dre. Let's talk some sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's get ready to rumble! Y'all ready for this?
All right, Cleats fans. Apologies for the dour intro. It was a tough sports weekend. Beautiful weekend weather-wise. My youngest started playing his soccer, and after chasing butterflies for the better part of his game, scored a beautiful golazo at the end, so lots to be grateful for. We'll get to the football. I mean, in tennis, right? After that episode, my dad, we couldn't get an American really to win a set in either of the finals. But football, yeah, football. Notre Dame football, Fighting Irish, losing to a directional school like Northern Illinois, directional state school, 16-14. That's a tough one. And then the Giants just rolled out there on Sunday, lost to the Vikings 28-6. So let's do three things here. First, we'll have some fun with the quarterbacks in my life right now. I'll draw the common threads between Riley Leonard of the Notre Dame Fighting Irish and Daniel Jones of the New York Giants. Then I'll give you some quick 7-minute game recaps on both the soul-crushing loss the Irish had and the soulless loss the Giants had. Okay, first, Riley Leonard, Daniel Jones. Let's face it, not only do I follow them now on the Irish and the Giants, I'm probably the one podcaster in the pod sphere that also intersects with these gentlemen's where their legends began, the Gothic wonderland of Duke University. So me, and possibly only me, can do proper justice to a tale of the tape of these two devils we know. Buckle up. Riley Leonard and Daniel Jones. Both played 3 seasons at Duke. Riley from 2021 to 2023. Daniel from 2016 to 2018. Number 2. Both were recruited by Duke head coach David Cutcliffe, noted quarterback guru, a Manning whisperer, right? He coached Peyton at Tennessee and Eli at Ole Miss. Number 3. Both were lightly recruited. Riley received offers from Nebraska, Syracuse, Tulane, not exactly powers of this day. Daniel originally committed to Princeton before walking on at Duke. Number 4, both are sons of the South. Riley from Fairhope, Alabama. Daniel, Charlotte, North Carolina. And number 5, both well, they like fishing. Riley enjoys fishing and spending time outdoors around Mobile Bay. Daniel has a strong passion for the sport, particularly bass fishing, which he learned from his grandfather at the Chickahominy River in Virginia. Number 6, both have prototypical size. Riley is 6'4", 212. Jones checks in at 6'5", 221. Number 7, both played high school basketball. I tried to look up stats. I couldn't find them. Number 8, both have reputations in football as good runners. In parts of 3 years at Duke, Riley ran for 1,224 yards and 19 touchdowns. Daniel, in his 3 years, ran for 1,323 yards and 17 touchdowns. Number 9, both were also pedestrian passers while at Duke. Riley with a 61% completion rate and 7 yards per average. Daniel with a 60% completion rate and 6.4 yards per average. Both really below college averages. Number 10, both have been very pedestrian passers, especially recently. In Riley's last 4 games going back to last year, 0 touchdowns thrown and 4 interceptions. Daniel, in his last 8 games, including the playoffs in 2022, the last game against the Eagles, 2 touchdown passes and 7 interceptions. And as a sidebar, During this time period, they both received huge raises and paydays during this quote-unquote slump. Riley reports over $1 million in NIL to transfer at Notre Dame. And Daniel Jones signed a $160 million 4-year contract. Number 11, both were on mediocre teams while at Duke. Daniel's 3 seasons, 19-19. Riley's 3 seasons, 20-18. Number 12, and the last one, both are known for their leadership, their strong work ethic, the charity work they do. They seem like awesome guys. It seemed like I would love to hang out with them. I'd love to learn from them. I'd love to have them be my boss. They're just struggling as my quarterbacks. At this point, if you're wondering, did I do an AI face morph of the two of them? Well, yes, of course I did. And the boy, he does look like a charming preteen theater boy. Could be an extra in a Zac Efron High School Musical reboot. And yes, I will be putting the picture on my Instagram handle, cleatsbydre _pod. Let's call him Riley Jones? No, that's too cool. Daniel Leonard. Yep, definitely a Daniel Leonard. Jokes aside, how did we get here? How do I have a Riley and a Daniel, a Jones and a Leonard, wielding so much power in my football viewing future over the next 3 to 4 months? What's going on here? I mean, let's focus on 2 angles as to how we got here. Let's talk about Duke football, and let's talk about size. Number 1, first off, why does Duke get this reputation as a hotbed for quarterbacks? It has to be the Cutcliffe effect, right? We're a historically terrible football program. And look, Cutcliffe did wonders for us in the mid-2000s to get us back to bowl games, to get us respect, but we're historically terrible. I enrolled in 2002. At that point, Duke football sent me a letter asking if I wanted to walk onto the team, or I guess try out for the team. I later learned that they asked it of everyone. I mean, I was quite a good high school athlete. You know, I think I went into a little bit of my first episode. I didn't play high school football. And this letter was sent to everyone in our whole class. Now, this was around August 2002 when we were set to enroll. Side note, Riley Leonard, born on September 13th, 2002. Is it possible that me not trying out for this team, the football team, something conspired in the universe to produce Riley? I guess a spot was open on the 85-man roster. But in seriousness, do quarterbacks, what's the allure? There's actually quite a bit of them that, you know, of course, Daniel Jones is a recent draftee. There was Dave Brown in the 90s. I mean, it really got me thinking, are the Duke quarterbacks that make it to the NFL, are they the worst of any college? Now, there's no way to do this analysis, at least easily, right off the bat. But I was curious, and I did some research right in ChatGPT, what other schools could have even worse of a reputation than Duke's now in terms of quarterbacks? I think it was Pro Football Reference. I have to go back and check that. That helped me with this, right? So I looked at alumni of different schools. So I looked at Duke, right? Daniel Jones, Dave Brown, Thaddeus Lewis. For some reason, me and my friends who are idiots, we called him Stabs Lewis. And also someone named Sonny Jurgensen, which I feel like my dad's told me about many a times. Played in the 60s. Their career record, 127 and 167. Not great. 40 games under 500. QB rating of 76. Can we beat that in terms of being worse than that? And yeah, we actually can. I'll give you some schools. How about, and feel free to play along, right? I'll give you a couple seconds. How about the Ohio State University, right? Justin Fields, Dwayne Haskins, rest in peace, Kent Graham, Mike Tomczyk. Yeah, CJ Stroud looks pretty good coming out now. And what I don't like here is in the Pro Football Reference stats, they take Joe Burrow in here. So including Joe Burrow, their career record is 128 and 156. The rating of 76, actually really close to Duke's with Joe Burrow stats. So yeah, Duke's produced better quarterbacks than Ohio State. Let's go to another one, a really good one. University of Florida. Rex Grossman, Jacoby Brissett, Steve Spurrier, Tim Tebow. There's also Warfel in there. And in the stats, they included Cam Newton. He's an Auburn guy. But including Cam Newton, career record, 164 and 211. QB rating of 75. Take Cam Newton out of that, and they're the worst. And there's one more that doesn't have any transfers and just is unobjectively bad. Missouri. Chase Daniel, Drew Lock, Blaine Gabbert. All decent draft pedigree. Career record of 29 and 60 with a rating of 64. Right? So Missouri, I think they have a reputation as a little bit better of a college football school. So I guess what I'm trying to say is maybe I shouldn't be bashing Duke's quarterbacks as much. Maybe there is something there, or at least it's not as bad as some other schools. But something else that's got me interested in the Riley Leonard, Daniel Jones piece is the size. Is it because they look the part? 6'5", 6'4"? This got me thinking of Moneyball, right? Those that read the book from Michael Lewis about Billy Beane and what the A's were doing in the early 2000s. Traditional scouts over time would overrate guys, such as Beane when he was coming up in the 80s with the Mets, because he looked the part, strong jawline, tall, muscular, megawatt smile. And they overlooked guys that just could play baseball well and hit baseball well. The Kevin Youkilis, who looked, looked like a duck in the box, but had an eye like, that could get eye like DiMaggio. So I was curious, and again, I couldn't do a full analysis in this time. I'm curious if anyone could find anything related to this. There are examples, right, of recent busts of the taller size, right? Blaine Gabbert, we mentioned already, 6'5", 10th overall in 2011, just struggled with accuracy and decision-making. Paxton Lynch is a famous one, 6'7", first round in Denver. I don't even think he even got to a start. Brock Osweiler, 6'7", signed a large contract, couldn't live up to expectations. And Josh Freeman from Kansas State on the Tampa Bay Bucks, 6'6", drafted 17th overall in 2009. One strong season, but faded away. On the flip, of course, you all could probably name these undersized QBs who have found success. Drew Brees, 6 feet tall. Russell Wilson, 5'11". Kyler Murray, 5'10". Baker Mayfield, 6'1". I think there's a deeper analysis here, but I also think this glow that has come with Jones and Leonard is related to they look the part. And maybe it's guys like, I don't know, what could come to mind, Gardner Minshew, other kind of guys that don't look the part that get overlooked still in traditional kind of scouting. But anyway, Riley Leonard, Daniel Jones, Riley Jones, Daniel Leonard, Riley Daniels, Jones Leonard. Please, football gods, let these guys figure out how to complete downfield passes. Let them figure it out soon. Okay, transition. On to the recap of that Northern Illinois game. Losing college football games is a special kind of loss. I'll be honest. As a fan, I sometimes struggle with what's worse. A Duke basketball tournament first round upset loss? Or an early Notre Dame loss to a group of 5 school? And unfortunately, I now have multiple examples of both. It's close. Both come with some embarrassment, some rage, some disillusionment. I'll go with football, though. See, in one basketball game, there can be a little more randomness. A little more, guys get hot from three-point land. Our guys are cold. But any given one college football game, especially one in which a MAC school puts it to you in the trenches a bit like Northern Illinois did, it's an indictment of all the effort building to this. The recruiting, the staff hires, the transfer portal, the development, the training, the scouting, and the execution. Is the hurt softened by the fact that there's 12 teams that make the playoffs now? Maybe. Doesn't feel that way, though. So, what did I make of the game? And I'll do this rather quickly. A couple comments on the game itself, and then I'll do 2 segments of what were we right about when we were doing our season preview with Mike and James, and what were we wrong about. And it's worth mentioning, we talk about this game. I watched the first half of this game on my phone in a Costco. Look, I got mouths to feed. I got errands to run. I'm a dad. I didn't have this as like a must-watch game. But believe it, as I'm going through the aisles, jamming people, elbowing people, I quickly got home for the second half and had to tune in. General points, I think that 83-yarder, or however much it was at the start of the game by Northern Illinois, that was a freak play. That was a broken play. I'm not going to, I saw that the replay is right. The quarterback throws a dangerous pass in between 2 defenders. The guy breaks a tackle. I'm not going to fault the defense too much for that. That was a freak play. And look, give credit to Northern Illinois. The quarterback took a risk, and it played off. And in general, I don't think this loss really says us too much about the defense. Could our defense have played better? Yes. Of course it could have. It gave up a lot of yards. Didn't really dominate as much as we think the defense like this should dominate. Of note, I don't know if the stat is 0 or 1, but the number of sacks our defense has. So defense could be better, but 16 points, our offense should be able to score more. This is all about the offense. My comments are going to be about the offense. So far, 5 things, right? 5 things so far we were right about in our preview. Number 1, Marcus Freeman, maybe not fully ready. I gave you that stat, right? One coach in the last 45 years won a national title in his first 30 years of being a head coach everywhere. So can we live with the lumps and the growing pains that it might take for Freeman to reach that level? And really, I think Mike said it best, right? Can Freeman, a traditional defensive coordinator, ever give us a complete offense? We have problems at quarterback, problems at wide receiver. The offensive line is still a stretch. Number 2, Riley's passing is questionable, right? I gave his stats coming in from Duke. Known as a runner, really not too impressive as a thrower, and it's really shown up early in the year. His stats in this game, 20 or 32, 163 yards, 4.9 yards per attempt, no TDs, 2 interceptions. And look, that 2nd and 1 interception in the 4th quarter, you could blame the play call, but that's the baddest throw as I've seen from what's supposed to be a top-level quarterback. Big problem. Number 3, we were right. The running back room is elite. That was an incredible run by Jeremiah Love in the 3rd quarter. Open, my mouth was open. The hurdle, and not only the hurdle, but being able to catch his feet afterwards and finish the run. The running backs are special. And then number 4, an underrated miss from this game, is Jordan Faison. I called him our best wide receiver last year. He caught 11 catches for over 100 yards in the bowl game. He's important, and him not being there, I think that definitely didn't help, but I think that's a big sign as to what happened. And in general, number 5, where else were we right? You just can't trust this ND team yet not to blow one. We all kind of knew it would happen. We didn't think it would happen this early. You hope there's not more coming, but this team, you can't trust them not to blow one. Now, where may we have been wrong? Because none of us really, I think, saw this coming. First point, Mike Denbrock as a savior. We both said, a big upgrade at offensive coordinator. And look, maybe it is. But what was the game plan and play mix in this game? NDFB Analytics, Notre Dame Football Analytics, great X follow. Notre Dame offense ran 61 plays in this game. 33 passes for 163 yards, 28 runs for 123 yards. And he breaks down the EPA, expected points added, of a run and of a pass. It's a similar concept to WAR, wins above replacement, I explained previously from baseball. It's basically expected points above or below what historical averages tell us that teams have gone on to receive at a given down distance and yardage. EPA per pass was negative 0.29. That's 18th percentile, 1.8. EPA per rush was 0.2, which would be 82nd percentile. So our running game was a B minus, 88 and 82. Our pass game was an 18 out of 100, big F. I'm simplifying the numbers, but in general, each rush was giving top level football. Each pass was giving UConn level football. So just run the ball more, Denbrock. Oh my God. I mean, Jeremiah Love touched the ball just once after his incredible 34-yard run at the 8:34 mark in the third quarter. Inexcusable in a game where the margins were so small as this one. Number two, we were wrong. Maybe Riley's running. Maybe we can't count on that either. 11 carries for 16 yards today? I thought we'd be able to ground and pound teams like this. At least option teams like this. I don't understand that. Number three, we said that at least pundits were saying this is the best QB room we ever had. So where's the depth? I called for it at halftime. Let's see Steve Angeli in the second half. I don't think this, and maybe I'll be on Freeman hard for this one. Riley Leonard is not a proven commodity coming over. He hasn't had that many reps. And Angeli is in his third year in this program, led us to a 40-8 bowl win. I don't think this was your typical, sure starter versus developmental backup. This is much more like the Everett Golson and Tommy Rees situation in 2012. This game called perfect. At least mix him a series or two. Get this kid some playing time. Can he throw the ball? Let's see. Look, it's a team game. It doesn't have to be one quarterback above all. This could be the downfall of Freeman. I've already heard that Riley's going to start. He said Riley's going to start this weekend against Purdue. If it goes like the first half against Northern Illinois, I hope there's a quick hook. Right? Nick Saban, what did you do in the championship game versus Georgia? He took out Jalen Hurts and put in Tua, and they won. You got to be flexible. So, Marcus, come on. Number four, I think we also, where we were wrong, we might have failed to acknowledge enough about how new this wide receiver room was, how it may need time to mesh with Riley. And really, Jaden Greathouse made some nice plays, but a bad drop in the second quarter. A really nicely nice thrown ball by Riley downfield. And this separation overall with the wideouts was not that good. Maybe we took for granted this whole everyone transferring together, not as much continuity. Not great. And in general, where we may have been wrong, any talk we had of a high floor with this team, there's no high floor after a loss like that. The floor is bottomed out. As we look ahead, I know I called Texas A&M a program-altering win last week. I stand by that. Tom. The nature of the Week 1 win was a road win that we hadn't been able to come through on, really since 2012. Now, this loss, though, is as bad. And honestly, no. This is worse of a loss, and that was as good of a win. Losses like these, if they pile up, can crater an administration, a coaching administration. So there have been similar losses with elements of this one in the past few seasons. Does Freeman bounce back from these? Kinda. 2022 with 3-3 start, they got the losing out of their system. They won 5 in a row before losing to a better USC team in the finale. Overall, though, it's just too much losing for a program with the resources that it has. And really, we should be talking national championship year after year. Another question, does the 12-team playoff give us a bit more grace, and does 11-1 get us in? Yes, it gives us more grace, but we're delusional to think of 11-1 at this point. Every game will be a struggle until it's not. You got to take it game by game at this point. And now, the magical question. Do we accept this low floor? Potentially with a higher ceiling that Freeman brings, right? Some pretty big wins, Clemson, USC. Or would rather the low ceiling, high floor that really Brian Kelly had settled into? My answer is I'll take the former. Because if you ask me, Andre, Dre, whatever my name is, look forward 12 years. And you have two options. 100% chance that Notre Dame wins 1 title in those 12 years, or a 50% chance they win 0, and a 50% chance they win 3. I know my answer every time. Just give me that 1 year when it all comes together, even if it means some clunkers and working out the kinks. This is likely not that year, but let's see improvement, and let's see it fast. Okay, last and probably least, the Giants. Look, I didn't do a season preview. I had a sense they'd be bad, and following sports should be fun. I'll admit, I'm live, following a recommendation from Brandon Anderson of the Action Network, on the Giants to have the worst record in the NFL at plus 1,000, 10-1. The roster is just not good enough in too many spots, especially quarterback. This game, though, the Vikings game, but by the way, me and the Mrs. Dre and the boys, we were ready. If you saw on my Instagram, we had a feast, we had a spread out, we were psyched. You know, the boys were pumped with the recovered fumble on the Vikings' first drive. We were wrestling, we were getting ready for some couch football, we were going at it. 10 minutes later, as the Giants settled for a field goal, the boys were gone. They were calling for Grizzly and the Lemmings on Netflix. By the way, modern-day Looney Tunes, but not quite as bad and not quite as addictive for the parents out there. Or Minecraft on YouTube. They were gone. It was just me, really waiting for the U.S. Open final to start. But I was there, pigging out. And look, 28-6 Vikings, a laugher, a stinker. And interestingly, a double vengeance game at our expense, right? First, good for the Vikings. Of all the teams out there, they have probably the most brutal losses to the Giants in their history. Of course, there's the 41-0 NFC Championship game in 2000, where the Giants just stomped on them. And then 2 years ago, right, and on the $160 million Daniel Jones game, he really took it to them, set records at their expense. So give him one. Give Sam Darnold one back in MetLife Stadium. But that's not even the double Sam Darnold. The double vengeance is Brian Flores. Who remembers, right, when before Dable was hired, the whole Bill Belichick to Brian's fiasco, right, where he, apparently Belichick thought he was texting Dable, congratulating him on the Giants job, even though it wasn't announced. He must have found out somehow, and it went to Flores, who was also interviewing for the job. Oh my God, that really the downfall of Belichick. But I wonder, did Brian Flores, the Vikings defensive coordinator, have a little more into this game? I don't know. But anyway, here's what matters to me from this game. That's it from Daniel, from Mr. Jones. I've seen enough. A few of my notes, right? The second quarter, 3rd and 15, max blitz. You got to complete that pass to Wan'Dale Robinson. He's wide open over the middle. You got to stand in there and complete that. Then in the third quarter, he gets hit once. He eludes it. He's athletic, but he just can't recalibrate. He can't think through the next play. He gets shell-shocked. And this is my thing. In the episode before, right? Doesn't have the pocket presence. Sure, I mean, there were interceptions, of course. But the O-line actually looked improved also, right? I saw a stat from someone on Monte Cristo on X that the New York Giants offensive line was attributed with 4 of the 12 quarterback hurries and 1 of the 5 sacks, according to Pro Football Focus. That's not a lot. Usually it's more. So they're saying it was all on the quarterback just being frazzled back there. So no more excuses. It's time. And really, as we look ahead to the rest of the season for the Giants, here's what I'm looking for. I hate to tank. I don't want to tank. I still want this team to be good. Look, I remember better than anyone. The 07-08 team started 0-2 and almost 0-3. That team is different, though. That team was on the cusp. If this team is clearly not going to be good, then please keep losing. Dak just re-upped with the Cowboys. You're not going to find your next best quarterback in free agency. Let's take our next shot in the draft next year. So this year, let's make it all about who are the leaders of the next Giants Super Bowl that are on the roster now. Let's keep those guys healthy, and let's keep those guys performing. Let's keep those guys under contract. Let's start shaping our leaders. Like, imagine if we teleport back to 2003. No Eli yet. That team loses their last 8 games to finish 4-12. I think Kerry Collins got injured at some point, if my memory serves me. Let's get a pick. Actually, no, sorry. In 2003, they got a pick high enough to be in position to draft Eli. Now, Fossil went down, fired from that team, but guys like Strahan, Osi, Amani, Shockey, Dave Deal, they were in place. So who matters the most this year? Let's start with the head coach, Brian Daboll. I didn't see a lot of Daniel Jones out of the pocket in this game. And some could say that pick 6 was on the play call. I think Daboll, if nothing else this year, has to prove again he could have an innovative offense. Or actually even more, show that he can manage a team and run a team and keep them disciplined, keep them fighting hard. I think he deserves, well, I don't know. We have a lot of season left. I'm about to say I think he deserves another year. Let's see how this year goes. But he's certainly going to be under watch. On the offensive side, our building blocks are Andrew Thomas, our left tackle. Would love to see him keep producing Pro Bowl type play. And Malik Neighbors, who I thought looked pretty effective given all surrounding him. Let's please not make Neighbors into a malcontent. I'm begging you, journalists. He seems like a good kid that just wants to play hard, that's in a really tough situation with his quarterback. Let's show that he can be a weapon and someone we can count on. On the defensive side, it's about the line, right? Dexter Lawrence, let's keep him healthy. Let's keep him hungry. Brian Burns, let's integrate him well into a defense. Kayvon Thibodeau, right? Our top pick from a couple of years ago. Was it 0 tackles he had this past game? Another stat from this time Light 2610 on X. And I should probably source where he got this data from, but in Thibodeau's first 2 seasons, he ranked 68th and then 100th in the NFL in pass rush win rate. That's not good. Is he going to be a building block or is he going to be a bust? Either way, let's find out. Let's make this year about that. And then Deonte Banks, right, as our cornerback number one. Can he turn into a shutdown? These are just some of the guys. And look, I named 5 guys on that 2003 Giants team that were around 4 years later. I just named 6. That could be it, but that means a lot. What's the culture we're building here, Daboll? Shane. Are these guys our culture flag bearers? If not, let's go on to the next ones. So sorry, Giants fans. I think the pain is going to continue, but hopefully it gave you a little something to watch for. All right, folks, that's going to be it for today's episode from Cleats by Dre. Hope you enjoyed it. As always, please follow, please share, please rate and review. I'll talk to you next time.